Hello, welcome back to the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Ryan Meza, and I'm joined here with Summer Sanders.
Hello.
We are also joined here with Tom Clark, the president of the Spokane Association of Realtors. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we are going to open today with something we've never done before. We're going to do a trivia question. Tom, are you ready?
The first one, yeah.
We'll know soon, won't we?
So the question is, what holiday started in Spokane?
I think it was Father's Day.
You're right.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I didn't even know that.
I believe
Yeah.
I can't remember the person that did it, but yeah, it's Father's Day.
Yeah, our tech
Right.
guy sat for about 5 minutes, couldn't come up with an answer.
I almost said Mother's Day, and I said, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it's been around a long time.
Definitely. Good. You'll get your prize later.
I'm sure I will.
Well,
So the housing market in Spokane, with everything going on with COVID, I've been reading up about what's going on. Is it worse than the recession in 2008 or better? Or,
Well, as far as the market itself, and much better.
Okay.
Much better. I think the good news is with COVID, when COVID hit, we were in a good market. So it wasn't like we were already on a slide or already in the dulls or anything like that. We were in a good market. Property values were going up. Buyers and sellers were all moving frantically to their corners.
Yeah.
And so when COVID hit, there was a hiccup, there was a stall, there was kind of we lost a little bit of elevation, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Altimeter started to
Exactly.
panic a little bit, but it didn't take long, and we discovered that we could work within the COVID restrictions. The restrictions loosened up a little bit and allowed us to go back to work. But so from that standpoint, and what's really interesting is we're right on track with 2019 numbers for 2020.
Really?
And 2019 was a good year.
Yeah.
So
Good.
we've had a little bit of an up and a little bit of a down, and now we're kind of leveling out to where the numbers for the end of July were very similar to the end of July last year. I think we were like 15 houses difference in sales, for the month. So that being said, it's still a good market. It's a competitive as heck market, but it's very good. Property values are increasing because of the supply and demand
Exactly.
game.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about why it's so competitive right now?
Well, it's entry-level type homes are very sought after, very difficult, very hard to find, and we kind of have a domino effect going on. We have a lack of inventory, less than a month's supply of inventory, and the way we figure that is if 500 houses are selling on the average month, and there's only 500 houses on the market, then we can assume we've got a month's supply of inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I think last month we sold 700 or 800 houses, and we're down to about 500, 400 in inventory right now. So depending on how many sales there are this month, we'll know whether we had a month's supply of inventory or a little less or a little more. But still, a balanced market is anywhere from 4 to 6 months of inventory.
Yeah.
So it's not an even playing field. Sellers are calling the shots right now.
Yeah.
And buyers just have to scramble and take every opportunity they can.
Exactly. Even with being president right now, you mentioned it, Andrew, in your last interview, you like standing in the front row instead of the back, so you can make
Right.
those kind of decisions. What have you been trying to implement during this unprecedented time to keep on track with real estate?
Well, I think as an association, we've been, tried to keep our members educated, keep them informed. Obviously, when COVID hit, there was a whole lot of uncertainty. None of us knew what real estate was going to look like. The good news is most of a real estate transaction can happen electronically.
Mhm.
We can sign documents electronically. The only documents we can't sign are some of the closing documents as far as electronic documents. But we can list houses, we can sell houses, we can do everything but close them virtually without ever crossing paths or shaking hands or getting with it, inside of a six foot buffer.
Yeah.
But I think just settling the fears and the concerns and making sure that we're all playing in the sandbox fairly and everybody's working towards the same goal, which is to take good care of our clients.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest issue.
So are people able to go see homes right now?
They are.
Okay.
Yes. We're when the shutdown first happened, when the state was kind of shut down, we didn't even think we could hand a key to somebody. And that only happened, that only lasted about 3 days. And then with a lot of lobbying from the Washington Realtors and the governor's office, we were allowed to show the properties or meet with a client at the properties as long as there were no more than 2 people on the property at any time.
Gotcha.
So that meant if a married couple, a husband and wife, wanted to look at a house, one of them would have to sit in the car while one of them went through the house with the realtor, and then they'd trade. Now we're allowed 3 people in the house.
Okay.
So that helps a little bit. Still a little bit of a challenge when mom and dad want to look at it, you know, or the home inspector, the realtor, and a married couple. Now all of a sudden you've exceeded, so somebody's got to stay.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to stay out.
Do you have
But
to disinfect it in between, or?
have to is probably a strong word. Do we? Yes, in many, many cases.
Okay.
And it all depends on the situation. But we're required to wear masks and keep the 6-foot separation. We ask our clients to, you know, keep their hands in their pockets or you know, open as few doors as possible or as necessary. And then on the way out, we try to wipe things down and clean things up the way so that they were the way we found them. All the CDC protocols that we can employ, we do. We want to protect our clients as well as, you know, as well as the selling public.
Definitely. Yeah, and I know we were talking about it before we started the show, but I just wanted you to touch on it a little bit. We talked about attainable instead of affordable.
Right.
And also people working from home now, feeling that need that they don't need to like move to Spokane for a job or anything like
Sure.
that. What do you have to say to viewers about
Well,
working from home?
The working from home has kind of become much more normal.
Exactly.
You know, I hate to use the term new normal, so I won't. But it's become much more acceptable and much more. We've discovered that we can do it. I mean, it's not just likely; it's possible. It's being
Yeah.
done more often than not. So, I think the rural atmosphere that we live in Spokane and the ability for people to work from home and not have to go to their office every day, I do feel will bode well for the Spokane real estate market. You know, if I lived in downtown Seattle or downtown Portland or downtown San Francisco or LA or one of these big high-density cities, boy, doesn't the rural lifestyle in Spokane look good?
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
and
lot
so
safer.
from that standpoint, if I find out through COVID that I only have to go to my office once or twice a month, I might just be able to live in Spokane and take a 3-hour flight to go see my office once a month, and live a lot nicer lifestyle. Obviously, in a home that is a lot more affordable and attainable. So, I brought that up. I'll keep going with it.
Yeah.
Affordable versus attainable. The term affordable housing conjures up a whole lot of regulations and laws and definitions that are not necessarily our own. So the Spokane Association of Realtors has kind of adopted the term attainable housing. Attainable housing meaning affordable for the average person and available, right? And right now we have 2 issues. One is affordable. Property values keep going up as the demand increases and the supply decreases. And as a result of that, there just aren't as many homes on the market. Many people aren't selling their homes because they don't have anything to go to.
Yeah.
So there's an issue there. There's, you know, we've got to have the domino thing. If I sell my house, I'm not doing that to become homeless. I still want to live indoors. And so I'm going to be looking for a house to buy. And if I haven't arranged that first, I'm afraid to sell my house.
Do you have any advice for families or people who are looking to invest in property in Spokane, given how competitive the market is?
Well, I think the greatest advice they can have is just don't be bashful. You know, the way things are today, I don't see them changing. I don't see it getting, I don't see the market slowing for them, right? Because as long as they're there, the market is going to keep going. And so the demand is still there. Then it's just going to continue. So I would say, you know, if unfortunately what's happening is a house hits the market at $200,000, which is a very affordable home in Spokane's market right now, and it gets bid up to $230,000 by the time it sells, the timid person, the timid buyer is not going to win.
Yeah.
The aggressive buyer is going to win.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so my advice would be, don't be afraid to be aggressive, because chances are this time next year, you'll be sitting in an equity position. In the last 3 years, we've discovered that there's been $82,000 worth of equity gained by homeowners in the last 3 years in Spokane.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And that's not just good for homeowners, but it's good for families. It's good for people's financial health. And interestingly enough, businesses, usually startup businesses, are funded by the equity in someone's home. They borrow off of their home to start their business, and so that's how that's how to build wealth.
So it helps businesses too, this market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Even you're talking about earlier how you saw like a good match in July from last year's numbers in 2019. Especially talking about businesses, Spokane Hoop Fest even brings in a lot of people into Spokane
right.
and other events that we host here. Did that play any downfall in real estate?
Not yet. I anticipate it will.
Okay.
I really do. I think that, and the service sector, we have a very large service sector employment base in Spokane, whether it be restaurants or hospitality or whatever, those types of jobs. And I think we're yet to see the effects of those jobs diminishing or going away, because some of them are not going to come back. Yeah. And I don't know the percentages, who's got the crystal ball and who wants to take the best guess, right?
Yeah.
Let's just, if 30% of the service sector jobs don't come back, and there's no stimulus money from the government or extra unemployment money or anything like that, what's the economy going to look like in a year? I don't know, but I anticipate we're going to see a little bit of a downfall. We're going to see a slide to some degree.
Most definitely.
Will it affect the real estate market? I don't know. Right now, most of our buyers are very well qualified and don't have any issues getting loans.
Yeah.
So, but I think the economy in the long run is going to be just fine. We're probably going to experience some effects from COVID though.
Yeah,
and
it's a waiting game.
And some of the loss of jobs.
Definitely.
Once the government interference, I'll call it interference.
Yeah.
Once the government intervention goes away, because it will. The government can't just keep sending us $1,200 checks and extra unemployment money, and as much as they can just print money, at some time that has to stop.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So it's yet to be seen.
Yeah.
Yet to be seen.
Also, even just like the community here, just like community building through like neighborhoods and stuff like that. How do you plan to, or are you guys implementing anything to kind of keep that community sense within the homes that you guys are
Well,
selling?
I think so, and I think the developers in Spokane do a very good job of that. With the community, Kendall Yards is a good example of that.
Yes, we were just talking about that.
Yep, very good example of it. And so I think that happens from a development standpoint as much as it does from a community or a city standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
We touched a little bit on the Growth Management Act and the boundaries being kind of restricted. In 1995, the Growth Management Act came into effect in our area, and it hasn't changed a lot. There's been very little change, and I think a couple things happen. One is I think we need more land to develop, and so those boundaries are going to have to get pushed out a little bit. I think we also probably need to get a little bit more creative from a legislative and a taxation type standpoint to make some of the fees and regulations that are more revenue oriented versus safety and security oriented, eliminate some of those. It's kind of interesting, the statistic that I read not long ago is every $1,000 in increase in price, you price 219 people out of the house.
Wow.
$1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
$1,000,
Yeah.
200 people can no longer qualify.
Yeah.
And so, and those are the kind of things like when the city planners or somebody like that says, well, let's do a park or let's do this, it's only going to add $2,000 to the price of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, you just priced 440 people out of a house. They can no longer afford that house.
Yeah.
So when we look at it in those kind of numbers, it makes sense to make some changes and reduce some costs wherever you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Thinking of the community. Love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have any other advice to people who are looking to buy or sellers right now, aside from, aim high, and
Right.
for buyers, don't be timid?
Well, I think sellers, it's kind of interesting because if and we see it, if they overprice the house, it's just going to sit. It still won't sell, even in a great market, if it's overpriced. On the other hand, if it's underpriced, we're finding out that the overbidding, evens things out. So
Yeah.
it's very little fear of underpricing today with the competitive market that it is, and it depends on the price range, of course. In the $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 price range, those houses, there's plenty of those available. There's not a real shortage of those. Still a good market for those priced homes, but it's not as competitive. For in the $200,000-$300,000 price range, now you've got a whole bunch of folks looking at houses.
Mm-hmm.
So a house hits the market, there's usually an appointment every 30 minutes to show the house
Gotcha. Okay.
until 9 o'clock at night, and then tomorrow it starts again.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. So the advice would be, take your realtor's advice. Get a realtor, get a good realtor that'll work with you and understands your needs, and be sure and be open and honest with your realtor, because they're there for you to help you get what you want. And if you're not sharing with them what you want, then it's harder to hit the target.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You really love what you do, don't you, Tom?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It shows,
I enjoy
definitely.
it. I enjoy it. It's there's a lot of jobs you can do and just get a payday. I don't get paid unless my clients are successful,
Mhm.
and that's kind of self-rewarding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a good occupation. I meet a lot of really wonderful people,
Yeah.
hardworking folks, and most of my clients are good middle-class folks. They just go to work every day like I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great community building.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You bet.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the Pulse.
It's my pleasure. Call anytime.
Thank you.
You bet.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day, everyone.
At Wendell Nissan, you're respected, you are valued, and we have an experience tailored for your lifestyle. WendellNissan.com allows you to research and find the perfect vehicle and financing information prior to arriving on our lot. Whether it's the 2020 Rogue Sport, Rogue, or another Nissan model, our trained staff will help you find the perfect fit. For your tailored experience, come see us at Wendell at the Y or WendellNissan.com.
When we opened the doors the first day, we started with a counter full of maybe a dozen selections of a dozen cupcakes. We sold out, and it just went crazy from there. I'm Sally. I run Sweet Frosting's Blissful Bake Shop in downtown Spokane. It's almost 40 years of baking for me. We now do between 1,000 and 2,000 cupcakes a day. The variety of cupcakes is kind of like the variety of services that STCU provides for us. Since we opened this site in 2014, they've been our banker. We are producing for 4 stores right here, so we have 35 to 40 employees at any one time. There's an STCU close to virtually every one of my stores, and every time I get a new employee, that's the first place we send them. STCU is such a good fit. It's just so convenient for me to have them as neighbors. They are always so pleasant and always so helpful, and we have a lot of little needs. They've always been behind me 100%, so it's a good thing to have that partnership.
Here at River Ridge Hardware, we carry a great selection of Krylon brand spray paints, Color Master, general purpose, the Rust Protector for taking care of metal, Fusion for taking care of plastics, and the Supermax that can take care of it all.
Weather in the inland Northwest can wear you down. And if your gutters are in poor condition or you do not have gutters, you could suffer damage that could cost a fortune to fix. Rainman Seamless Rain Gutters has almost 30 years of professional experience in serving the inland Northwest region and strives to ensure customer service that is second to none, from the time you call to the end of the project.